Hi everybody. So I just want to apologise first off because I've still got a bit of a sore throat because I came down with the virus over New Year's, so my voice keeps going a bit croaky and I might be coughing a little bit, so apologies for that to start off with. Now, this week I want to talk to you about a book I finished reading, The Handmaid's Tale. So if you haven't read The Handmaid's Tale or seen the series, you might not want to watch this because it might contain spoilers. I'll put that out there now. In fact, it probably will contain spoilers actually. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now, if you've seen the series but haven't read the book, I'll say that's the order I did it in. I watched this TV series first before I read the book. Basically, the book covers series 1 and series 2 kind of went slightly beyond. If you've seen the series, you kind of know what happens in the book. But I will say, because I know that Margaret Atwood is writing a sequel, I believe, because I think this was written in the 80s actually. Let's have a look, see if it says in here. Copyright 1985, yes, so it was written in 1985, and apparently there's talks of her doing another one, which I think would be really interesting based on how this book ends. Now, as most people will probably know, it's about, it's kind of set in kind of a dystopian future where America has been taken over by Gilead. Basically, their government has kind of been torn to shreds. And basically it's women who can have children are very scarce, and so they've got like these very important people who it's hard to describe it really. It's basically women who are fertile are forced to have children for wealthy unfertile couples, and so it's a bit disturbing. I wouldn't say it was scary. With the book they were able to turn it more into a thriller type thing with like the jump scares and things, but it's not scary in that sense. It's, you're reading about one woman's journey while living as a handmaid in Gilead. And this is where it's going to go into spoilers, because I'm going to talk about the very final chapter of the book, because that was the bit that really got to me, I think. Because basically it ends, the final chapter is done as kind of like a research paper or talk, looking back on the time of Gilead, which implies that Gilead happens and then they kind of get through it and it's done, they manage to stop it and they manage to carry on. Excuse me. But yeah, so the ending of the book implies that Gilead didn't last forever, which is a nice way to end it really. And I hope that they do work that final chapter into the series when the series ends, because the final chapter is just the way it's written and the way it calls back to how the book is written is quite clever, because it's all done from the point of view of Fred. Basically she doesn't have a name anymore. The name of all the handmaids has to do with the family that they're serving, so she is of Fred, and Fred is the master of the household that she lives in. But yeah, so I wouldn't say it was scary. It's not exactly a book full of like jump scares and things. It's more observing this world that could happen. So it is creepy in a sense, but it's not scary in the traditional sense. It does kind of end a little bit on a cliffhanger, which is how I understand the series managed to carry on. But it's just that final chapter where it kind of looks back, because the idea is that basically the final chapter of the book talks about how they found recordings, they found tapes, which is basically what led to the creation of Gilead, because it's done in, it kind of throws back slightly, so it's kind of like the series in the sense that you see Gilead as it is, and then you have little throwbacks to kind of life before and how it led up to that moment. I know that for the series they changed the ages of some people and they combined some characters, because I admit in the series Aunt Lydia gave me nightmares. The actress really creeps me out, so I actually had to watch an interview of her as herself, as the actress herself, to stop me from having nightmares about Aunt Lydia. There are other aunts in the book that didn't quite make it to the series. They combined a couple of the aunts into Aunt Lydia for the series. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a recover of it, because it's got the actress from Handmaid's Tale on it, who I have actually met, by the way. I met her on a film when I was 27. It was either my 27th I think it was my 27th birthday, yeah, and that I got to meet the actress, and that was pretty cool. The thing about this book, in fact, I'll read you the blurb on the back. So it says, the Republic of Gilead offers Offred only one function: to breed. If she deviates, she will, like dissenters, be hanged at the wall or sent out to die slowly of radiation sickness. But even a repressive state cannot obliterate desire, neither Offred's nor that of the two men on which her future hangs. The two men that her future hangs are basically Fred, which is the man who is the master of the house that she lives in, and his chauffeur. He's more than a chauffeur, but I'll just say chauffeur for now. Yeah, so it's about what happened to her to end up in Gilead, her longing for the life that she had before, but at the same time also forgetting that the life that she had before, and where is left for her to go, being suppressed in Gilead. Oh, it's just such a good book, and I don't want to say too much about it, but at the same time, that final chapter was the thing that really did it for me, when they're looking back on it and you realise that they do get out of it eventually, even though the book doesn't tell you what happened to them. And at the end, they're trying to identify who Offred actually was, and they're trying to determine kind of how Gilead happened, and how to not let it happen again. And it's really interesting, especially in this day and age where we are still at a battle with regards to feminism and, you know, the women's roles, basically, because this book is basically taking you back to old religious studies and ties and things like that, because I think there was a little foreword at the beginning where Margaret Atwood admits that everything that happens in this book is something that's happened in history. She didn't make any of it up. All of it was something that had happened somewhere in the history of religion or in the history of the world. So using stuff that actually happened and turning it into Gilead, it's quite incredible and terrifying at the same time, because the fact is because I believe that time works in concentric circles, so that's how things come back, like fashion works in like smaller circles than maybe history. But at the same time, a lot of people think we are repeating history at the moment. I'm not going to go too much into that because it's on the nose for some people, but a lot of people do think that we are currently repeating history, and we don't want to. So this, even though it was written in the 80s, seems very on the nose and very current, and a lot of people felt that way about the TV series as well. A lot of people, especially in regards to what's happening in the government, both in America and in the UK and all over the world, actually, because a lot of people are saying we do not want Gilead to actually happen, but there are some people out there where this probably seems like a good idea, and that's what's scary, the fact that there are some people out there who actually think that Gilead is a good idea, and there's lots of people out there who are going, no, this cannot happen. Yes, so I think that's all I'm going to say about that for now. There will be the word spoiler in like the headline of this video, I think, just because it's kind of hard not to talk about the ending when talking about this, because I think that final chapter is such a huge part of this story, even though you don't realise it, because it also offers that bit of hope at the end after seeing what Offred and what all the other handmaidens are going through, and then to find at the very end that they did eventually get out, but we don't know how. And I really hope the sequel looks at that side of it a bit more, and I really hope the TV series ends with the final chapter of this book, because I think it would just be very fitting to come back, because I'm sure they'll update it slightly, because set in the 80s, I mean, well, not set in the 80s, but consider the fact that it was written in the 80s, there are references to like videotapes and things like that, which obviously they'd probably update for now. It's a very clever book. Scary, but not in the traditional sense of the word. But I definitely recommend this book. Especially if you've watched the TV series. Because even though you know what happens, you don't. It is a very, very good book. It's probably my new favourite book, this book, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Margaret Atwood does with the next one. I hope everybody had some wonderful celebrations, and I wish everybody the most fantastic year. I have a feeling this could be a good one. Do you like my hair, by the way? I had my hair done this morning. My hairdresser is just fabulous, isn't she? I love it. I absolutely love it.